64 men have won the Indianapolis 500. Today, SportsCenter will have 3 of them.
A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race.
Eddie Cheever has won the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
If you're going to win one race in the life, win the Indy 500.
Buddy Rice from Phoenix, Arizona wins from the pole position. He is the winner of the 88th Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Champions of May, next on SportsCenter.
Welcome to SportsCenter, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500.
Welcome to SportsCenter at the Indianapolis 500. 5 days and counting to the green flag for the 90th running of the Indianapolis 500. Along with IndyCar expert Scott Goodyear, I'm Jerry Punch. And during the next 30 minutes, we'll be joined by 3 former Indy 500 winners. 2004 champion Buddy Rice, the 98 winner Eddie Cheever, and the 4-time Indy 500 champion, the legendary A.J. Foyt. And Scott, now you nearly won this race twice, back in 1992 and again in 97, finished second both times. What does Indy mean to you?
Well, I think that Indianapolis is the race that everybody knows about and wants to win. It doesn't matter if you're in North America or in Europe. And I think from a driver, whether you're driving go-karts or training cars, that is your goal if you're driving a single-seater car. It certainly was mine. I can remember as a child coming in here for the very first time, seeing my first race and watching all the pageantry that goes along with it and the cars coming down to the start. And it gave me goosebumps, just made the hair stand up in the back of your neck. And getting a chance to come here as a driver, I can remember coming underneath the tunnel my rookie year. I was going to come here and try and pass the rookie test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This track is massive. It's fast. Everything about this track is different like any other track that you've ever seen before. And if you can even come here just to compete, I think that's something great for your resume.
Like one of our guests said years ago, Eddie Cheever said, this place is like a living, breathing organism. It sort of gets in your system when you come through the gates. Well, the Indianapolis 500 is unlike any other motorsports event in the world. The history, the tradition, all the pageantry that surrounds the greatest spectacle in racing. For those drivers fortunate enough to have sipped the milk, winning the Indianapolis 500 truly becomes a life-altering experience.
Buddy Rice from Phoenix, Arizona wins from the pole position. He is the winner of the 88th Indianapolis 500-mile race.
Now, Buddy, the ceremonial sip of milk, indicative of the winner here at Indianapolis.
Just to even go race at the Speedway was one thing, and to win it is, you can't even fathom that, really. I mean, it's just a dream.
He has realized the ultimate dream.
I've been dreaming with it.
To win it is just a dream come true.
The dream come true.
There's the checkered flag for A.J. Foyt, the winner of the Indianapolis 500.
I was crying going down the back straightaway. I was trying to get my eyes, dried up before I come to victory circle.
Buddy Lazier takes the checkered flag and wins the Indianapolis 500.
It's going to take a couple weeks to sink in. It feels unbelievable.
I'm going to win this race. And by golly, I did. I just can't even believe it. I still didn't believe it. I went another lap around the racetrack. I thought, man, if they've made a mistake some way, they're not going to take it away from me for this reason, so I made another lap.
Today, once again, Johnny Rutherford etched his name and his achievement upon the granite of time.
A lot of stories with the Indianapolis 500, and I'm very proud to be one of the stories.
Mario Andretti, winner of the 1969 500-mile race.
When you win events, when you win a championship, or you win Indianapolis, or you just have to pinch yourself.
And I was tickled to death. I was very happy, happy as you could be, to be able to win the race. But to me, it was almost like winning another race. And Indy had to kind of grow on me.
He made a statement to me after I won it in '85 about, hey, it's your first victory, make the most of it, because I didn't.
I didn't really appreciate what Indy meant at that time. And as time went on, you run there some more and you don't win, you don't win the race. You start looking around and you see, a lot of guys that have been there for a lot of years have never won it, or maybe just won it once.
He's making a move. No, not quite. Well, Johncock has won the Indianapolis
you might better win the Indianapolis 500 than all the rest of the races put together throughout the whole year.
I want to see my name, you know, when the ESPN, they show on the bottom, Indy 500, Helio Castroneves. My goodness, at least they know my name now, Castroneves. And I tell you, it's a lot of respect, not only from our own series, but for a lot of other drivers. Everybody's really always respect and very exciting when I meet you and check out the ring.
Rahal charges down the inside, and Rahal comes past Kevin Kogan.
Central Ohio's most famous driver took the passenger seat today.
It's heartwarming. It's great. I'm kind of embarrassed, really. All I did was win a race. I'm just flabbergasted by all of the people attending today, and thank you very much.
A lot of press guys said, they asked me, they says, well, now that you've won this race, you can retire. I says, retire? I said, I just got started.
Eddie Cheever has won the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
My father told me that if you're going to win one race in the life, win the Indy 500.
And most of all, I like the fact that on that cup, on the Borg Warner Cup, that my family's name is on there, and it'll be there long after I'm gone.
Indianapolis is what made A.J. Foyt.
A.J. Foyt at Indianapolis has won his 4th 500-mile race.
You don't know me winning Pocono 4 times. You don't know me winning California. You don't know me winning road races. You don't know me from Le Mans. You know A.J. Foyt from one racetrack.
There's so much history and there's so much involved into it that I don't think anybody really understands it until later on down the road. I don't think you'll really understand the true meaning of winning the 500 until many years pass.
64 different drivers have taken the checkered flag and won the Indy 500. This year, Dan Weldon hopes to become the 6th driver to win it in back-to-back years. When we return, we'll visit with the first man to win this race as an owner driver under the IRL IndyCar Series banner. Eddie Cheever is our guest when we come back.
Sports Center, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by Weber, making the world a better place, one grill at a time. And in part by Gillette Fusion Hydrogel. Prepare yourself for the best shave ever.
Screaming for the yard of bricks, hand up, saluting the crowd. Eddie Cheever has won the 82nd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
My father told me that if you're going to win one race in the life, win the Indy 500. This one's for my dad.
It is our pleasure now to be joined by the 1998 winner, Eddie Cheever, who will start 19th in this year's Indianapolis 500. Eddie, let's turn back the clock to May 24th, 1998. Now, after spending so much of your career in Formula One outside the U.S., what did it finally mean for you to win the Indy 500 as an American?
I think for an American it means a different thing than it might be for an Italian or a Frenchman or Brazilian. It is a race that's been around for a very long time, and this is our 90th running of it. But for me to come here and participate in the 500 was a privilege, but then to have the good chance of winning it was probably the most important single event in a career chasing race cars around the world. I enjoyed it. I was very proud. My father was very proud. My mother was very proud. So as far as I'm concerned, if they liked it, it was a good deal. So I'm very glad that I got to do it. Every time I watch this thing, I keep thinking that I really wished I hadn't slobbered so much and the milk had gone down my face. But anyways, it's a very special place for an open-wheel race car driver to be able to associate his or her name with.
You come back to Indianapolis from a 4-year break of racing at this racetrack, 48 years of age. What was your motivation to get back here to Indianapolis, and do you feel you'd be competitive this year?
I think the motivation was because I left it in the wrong way. I left it because our equipment was not competitive, and the last 500 I did here, I had a very quick car, and I had something I wanted to still finish at the track with myself. Do I think I'll be competitive? Yes. I think it'll be difficult to to run with the faster Penske's and probably the Ganassi cars, but behind them there's a big group of cars that are in a little bit of a bundle. We have to be realistic. This team was hibernating all the way up to 3 weeks before the Homestead race, and we put everything together. Max's car was put together 2 days before he came in and drove it. So as a team, we've done very well with limited resources, and I think this is more of a passionate 500 for us than a business proposal. There's a lot of long hours that have gone into this, and a lot of risk on our side, but I'm elated to be here. I really enjoy being here, and thank you for throwing that 48 in there. I really do appreciate that, Scott.
You're more than
As always, you haven't changed, and you are.
You're more than welcome. A little younger than you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you guys are close to the same age. We understand that. Eddie, what are your plans now as a driver after Indy?
I don't have an answer for that. We are competing in a different series also in Grand Am, which has as its cornerstone the Daytona 24 Hours, which we've already had. But it's a series that's growing, and we enjoy participating in it. I think you're asking me if I'm going to drive in an IRL car after Indy. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Just kind of hidden.
Yeah. We didn't know if Max Pappas would be a part of that future, or
I really don't know. We have 3 options open to us at the end of this 500. One of them is that we might not even be participating in the other IRL races, which I hope doesn't occur. The other one, depending on how successful we are with some of our sponsorship proposals that we're working on, we might be there as a team. And then there's always Max, Mad Max. Max has done a phenomenal job. He came here after not having driven, like me. His last Indy 500 was in 2002. He hadn't driven it. He had specific goals in his mind to achieve at the track, and he hit every one of them. And he managed to beat me by 0.03 of a second or some silly number.
He did do a great job. You have driven for A.J. Foyt. We're going to have him on later in the show. What was it like driving for A.J., a 4-time winner here at the Indianapolis 500?
A.J. is probably the wisest man I have been around that's been associated with the Indianapolis 500. But you have to learn when you're listening to him to understand that it's the world according to A.J. So there's so much history that goes all the way back. I learned a lot of things from him on how to defend yourself against this racetrack, how to prepare for it, how to look at the race. And I was really disappointed. I only ran one 500 for him. I was disappointed that I got collected in an accident with Stan Fox at the first corner. But he is a man that's fueled by passion, a lot of pride, and he gets always very angry if you even insinuate that you don't stand a chance of winning a race in one of his cars. So he's a very special person. There's an abrasive side to him that you always have to guard against. I learned that when he started calling me, if the word cowboy came into a conversation, it was good if I stepped about 4 feet back. And I was always ready for that. I was always ready for that fire to come out. It's more than capable of coming out on occasions.
Well, there's only one A.J. Foyt. Eddie, thanks so much for coming by. We wish you and Max Pappas the best of luck on race day.
Thank you.
When we return, the man who had the month of May others could only dream of back in 2004 will stop by and visit. Buddy Rice, our guest, in just a moment.
The Indianapolis 500, Sunday noon Eastern on ABC.
SportsCenter, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by Weber, making the world a better place, one grill at a time.
They will roll down this front straightaway for the final time. They will complete 180 laps. Buddy Rice from Phoenix, Arizona wins from the pole position as flashbulbs light up the yard of bricks. Buddy Rice has won the Indy 500.
And we are pleased now to be joined by the 2004 Indy 500 winner, Buddy Rice. And Buddy, great memories in 2004. Now, last year you missed this race, the 500, because of an injury during practice. Couldn't defend your title. This year you're back starting 14th. What are your thoughts about finally getting a chance to come back and run here at Indy?
It's always exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, last year was disappointing, but Kenny Brett came in and filled in, and I think it was a good way for him to close out his open wheel career and to fill in for me. But it's a new year. We're back here, and I'm really excited. Hopefully, we can get this number 15 Argent car up in front and try to get a second Indy 500.
2 years in a row on exactly the same day. May 11th, you're involved in a crash at this racetrack. What is it about May 11th that brings you such bad luck?
I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously last year's situation was completely different than this year's, and it's part of motorsports racing. These things happen, and it just happened to be coincidental, both on May 11th. Maybe next year we'll have to sit that day out and try to keep the car in one piece.
Now, for the last few years, you guys have been using the Panos chassis. You won the Indy 500 with it, but it's been reported that you guys have now got Dallara chassis, and you'll start using them at Texas. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, Bob and Dave have always given us the best equipment possible, and we've always done everything we can with what we've had. And obviously, they've seen a reason to make a switch. We will be in Dallaras by Texas. We'll keep the Panos for the road courses. We know that our combination there is really good on the road courses. We've been quite competitive, so we'll have to see. It's obviously going to be a steep learning curve for us to hop right into those and try to be competitive. But with our engineering staff and the group we have there, I think we have the capabilities for sure.
Buddy, Bobby Rahal gave you a shot when you were looking for a ride. What's the greatest thing you've learned working with Bobby Rahal?
Well, the one thing is he's a racer. You know, he's a very good team owner, but he's also a racer. He understands, the ups and downs, and it's not just one thing all the time. And I think that, he's so versatile across the board as an owner. I think that's the greatest thing. And there's so much information to get from him. He's got so much knowledge all the time of so many different things and situations. It's a great person to go and use as a soundboard all the time.
Your two owners, Bobby Rahal and David Letterman. Just for some fun, I want you to compare the two of them. Tell me how they're alike and how they're different.
Well, you don't get to see either one of them very much. You definitely see less of Dave because of his busy schedule. But I think they're both very good business-oriented men, and that's one thing that they're definitely very good at, and they're very equal on that. So I'm just very fortunate to be driving for a team that's this diversified and got so much information. It's a great group of guys to be with.
Buddy, your teammate Danica Patrick has a book out this year. Now share with us something about Danica that the average race fan doesn't know.
I don't know. From what I heard in the book, she laid it all on the line, so I think everybody knows what's going on. So I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot there to share. I think that drivers and people are so different, and everybody does their own thing. I mean, she's a very competitive person. She's been doing a really good job with all the pressures of the media and all her busy schedule. So on top of driving the car, so it's it's obviously a very exciting time, and she's definitely enjoying it.
Well, buddy, we thank you so much for stopping by on what is a very busy week and a hectic week. Best of luck to you and your Rahal Letterman teammates in Sunday's Indy 500.
Thank you very much.
Well, speaking of Buddy's teammates, Danica Patrick will be with us for the entire show on Wednesday. We'll relive Danica's history-making run in last year's 500. Plus, we'll look ahead at her chances of winning this year's race. When we come back, a very special guest here at Indianapolis, one of the all-time legends of motorsports, Super Tech's A.J. Foyt stops by to share some memorable Indy moments.
Sports Center, presented by Weber Grills at the Indianapolis 500. Brought to you by Weber, making the world a better place, one grill at a time.
There's an accident on the front straightaway. Where's Foyt? I don't know whether he can get through or not. There he is. A.J. Foyt will win the Indianapolis 500.
Time now to welcome in the legendary A.J. Foyt, one of only 3 drivers to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times. Good to see you again, A.J.
Well, thank you. Nice seeing you guys again.
It's hard to imagine, but this is your 49th straight Indy 500. You started as a driver back in 1958. You've been an owner since then. As you reflect on your Indy experience, what makes this place so special for A.J. Foyt?
Well, I think it's like the Kentucky Derby. It's only one 500-mile race. The Indy 500, it only comes once a year. If you have a bad mistake or you have a bad year, you got to wait one more year to try to correct it. I think that's the biggest thing that made it special to me all these years.
AJ, last week you were quoted in USA Today as saying that although you understood why they came back, Michael Andretti, Unser Jr., and Eddie Cheever, you didn't think they would be competitive. And for the record, I agree with you. But for the folks at home, tell them what's the difficulty of being competitive on race day?
Well, I think being competitive on race day, you take the guys that run every race with the new cars, even though they're not a lot different, say, from 5 years ago when I drove them. But to be competitive, I don't care what you're in, you have to be there current and know everything. You know, it's just like at the beginning of the year, we had to go to Japan, you know, Tokyo, and we missed the tire test here. Well, the ones that did it was actually Vision, Chip Ganassi, and Roger Penske. Well, you see qualifying day, how they had the advantage on everybody. So nowadays, to be competitive, you got to be there every day. And, you know, it's just like yourself or me. Sure, I'm not saying at one time that I couldn't beat all these guys easy, or you could do the same. But let's be truthful with each other. There's no way you're just going to come out of the woods and say, I'm ready to blow these guys off, because it's not going to happen. I'd like to see it happen, but it ain't.
AJ, you retired as a driver back in the mid-'90s, but you've been wide open as a car owner ever since. After celebrating your 71st birthday back in January, what would it take for you to decide? Okay, well, you look good for 71, AJ. Well, what would it take for you to decide that, hey, I just want to slow down and hang out at the ranch with your wife, Lucy, and take it easy?
I think that's going to be the day they lower the box. I don't think I know how to take it easy. Everybody says that. I've tried it, but I don't think I can. You know, it's just like I got a great engineer working with me this year here at Indy 500, Bruce Ashmore. Actually designed the Renard and worked with Lola and all that, and I think Scott can tell you was a top contender. He's a super friend of mine and very smart engineer. But it's just like anything. You got to stay really current on this stuff to really realize what's going on. That's one reason I'm trying to stay pretty current all my life. Because the minute you back off a little bit, don't think you're going to come back here the next couple of years and be competitive, because you're not. Just like I said earlier, we missed the tire test, and we should have worked hard at it. And we had to get ready for Japan, and then we had to get ready for here. And with us being in Texas, it made it impossible for us to do. But now we're suffering from it. So that's the way life is.
If you could turn back the clock and race against one driver, who would that driver be?
You.
Well, we ran against each other.
No,
I mean, competitive.
I mean,
he'd finish second, AJ.
Yeah, I've done that. Thank you very much, Doc.
Well, I think he should have won it, but, you know, he kind of fudged a little bit in the gray area, as they call it down south. He was in the gray area, and it didn't pay off this time. He got a little too gray. I don't know. You know, through the years, there's been some very, very tough competition. I mean, Andretti was one of them, Pernelli Jones, Hurtubise, so it's hard just to pick out one through the years. Roger Ward, even though he was older than us, he was a fantastic race driver here. So there's just so many of them that I raced against, so many greats that right today, if they was running against these boys every day, these boys have to beat them. But it was pretty tough back there. So it'd be hard just to pick one person out, to be truthful with you, Scott.
Okay.
AJ, I got to tell you, on behalf of all the millions of fans who couldn't be here with you today, hey, thanks so much for all those great memories over the years in an Indy car, in a stock car, in the short sprint car. You know, wherever you were, you made it exciting, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Nice having me.
Well, dating back to 1911, 64 different men have crossed the famed yard of bricks and been crowned an Indy 500 champion. Today, we were honored to spend some time and relive some memories with three of them. While they hail from totally different backgrounds and their wins span some 4 decades, they all agree winning this race changed their life forever.